It's a historic day. The first person in Singapore to receive a Covid-19 vaccine is a senior staff nurse at NCID.
I feel very grateful and thankful for being the first to be vaccinated in Singapore.
As the national rollout begins, Health Minister Gan Kim Yong is urging everyone to get vaccinated when their turn comes.
Our priority over the next few months is to ensure that the vaccines that we use are safe and effective, and that we are able to roll out this program to the whole population smoothly and in an orderly manner.
And arrested on arrival, Singaporean Dixon Yeo, who spied on the US for China, has been detained by the Internal Security Department. It's 5:30 p.m. here in Singapore. You're watching The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Haryanto Diman. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. Now, with Singapore starting its national COVID-19 vaccination exercise today, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said in a Facebook post that it marks a new chapter in the fight against the pandemic, and the vaccine will be key to living in a COVID-19 world. Multimedia correspondent Yeo Sam Jo has more on how the vaccine rollout will work.
Rolling up a sleeve, applying an alcohol swab, and finally, the jab. Just like that, Singapore kick-started its national COVID-19 vaccination program this morning on December 30th. 3 healthcare workers at the National Centre for Infectious Diseases, or NCID, were the first to receive the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Among them was senior staff nurse Muhammad Firdaus, who currently looks after COVID-19 patients in the intensive care unit.
You give me a better assurance because I have small children at home. It gives me assurance that I can come home safely after nursing those COVID positive patients and to play with my kids without feeling any fear that I will pass something to them.
The initial part when the nurse was injecting me, right, it was just a small sharp pain. But after that, you are tolerable with the rest of it. Actually, when people talking to me around, I don't feel the pain at all. Yeah. So I will encourage everyone to take the step to go for the shot, especially the frontliners. Yeah.
Feeling lucky that I've received the vaccine, feeling thankful and also slightly emotional that I think the vaccine is potentially a game changer, together with all our masks and physical distancing and all. It has been a long journey for us to reach here. Vaccines managed to bring pandemic down to their knees before. So I'm hopeful that this vaccine will do the same.
The temperature-controlled vaccine was removed from the fridge and administered about an hour later after reaching room temperature. Once opened, the vaccine vial must be discarded after 6 hours. About 30 NCID staff were in line for the injection on Wednesday. Vaccine recipients will have their personal particulars and medical history checked before the jab. After the injection, they will be observed for 30 minutes to ensure that they have tolerated the vaccine well. They will also receive a vaccination card with information about their next vaccination appointment. This vaccine is given in 2 doses, 21 days apart. Health Minister Gan Kim Yong described Singapore's vaccination program as an important milestone and key strategy in tackling the pandemic.
If more Singaporeans are vaccinated, it will provide better protection for the whole society. And if all of us are vaccinated, then Singapore as a country can then be protected against this infection. And this will allow us to also progressively restore our community and economic activities to normalcy as quickly as possible. I hope that we will not become complacent just because the number of cases are low today. As you know, we have seen many new waves of infection popping up in other parts of the world. Different regions, different countries are experiencing new waves of infection. And Singapore is not immune either at this point in time. And we must always be prepared that there will be new waves of infection. I always tell my colleagues that the next outbreak is just one infection away.
Singapore is the first country in Asia to obtain the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, which has been administered in other countries such as Britain, Canada, and the United States. More healthcare institutions here will receive the vaccine in the coming weeks. Elderly persons aged 70 and above will be the next to get inoculated from February. followed by Singaporeans and long-term residents who are medically eligible.
Yeo Sam Jo for the Straits Times.
On to the latest COVID-19 figures in Singapore. 27 new cases were confirmed today. One was a community case while the rest were imported. The Health Ministry said of the imported cases, one was a Singapore Airlines pilot who had tested negative for COVID-19 upon returning here, but developed symptoms later. The remaining 25 cases were all placed on stay-home notice or isolated when they entered Singapore. MOH also shared that among the imported cases, 7 are Singaporeans or permanent residents and 6 are foreign domestic workers. Meanwhile, a karaoke outlet has been ordered to suspend operations after 51 people were found crowding and consuming alcohol after 10:30 p.m. on Christmas Day. MZS Family Karaoke on Cuscaden Road will be shut for 20 days. Separately, 7 other F&B outlets were fined $1,000 each for breaching safe management measures. In other non-coronavirus news, Dixon Yeo, the Singaporean who was jailed in the US for spying for China, has been arrested by the Internal Security Department on his return to Singapore today. The ISD said it will interview the 39-year-old to establish if he had engaged in activities prejudicial to Singapore's security. No further details are provided as investigations are still being done. Meanwhile, a new flood protection barrier is being trialled by PUB in preparation for heavy rainstorms and flash floods. The new expandable device known as Floodgate is made from steel frames wrapped in a waterproof rubber sleeve and can be installed at the entrances of residential, commercial and industrial properties. Each unit will cost between $800 and $2,200 depending on its size. A driver who fled from the police, reversing his car while 2 policemen were holding on his arm, was charged in court today with 2 counts of causing hurt by performing a rash act. Ryan Ashraf Muhammad Azman was a wanted man for jumping bail when the incident took place at a car park in Bukit Batok on Monday. Police later tracked him down and arrested him. An offender can be jailed for up to a year and fined up to $5,000 for each count of causing hurt by performing a rash act. Now, as work-from-home arrangement looks to become a part of the new normal moving forward, home-based learning likewise is set to become mainstream. Starting from the 3rd term of next year, all secondary schools, junior colleges and Millennium Institute will start to implement blended learning. Blended learning is a mix of home-based and in-school activities that taps both online and offline approaches to learning. Students will have HBL for at least 2 days a month. Now, to facilitate this, every secondary school student is set to receive a personal learning device by the end of next year. Students can use their EduSave accounts to pay for these devices. I have senior education correspondent Sandra Devi to discuss this further. Sandra, this new blended learning approach aims to further develop students' ability to be self-directed, passionate and lifelong learners. But is setting aside 2 days a month enough to meet this objective?
Well, I would say no, of course not. But it's one of the things that schools, teachers are doing to nurture their students into independent, self-motivated learners. There are lots of other things going on to do this as well. For example, starting in primary school, the focus is on getting students to enjoy learning, you know, the joy of learning. That's really important, right? If you're going to go on to learn by yourself. That's why there's less focus on exams. They've done away with exams in the lower primary levels so that we're not focused on just studying for the exams. We're actually studying to learn something, you know, and maybe in the process taking an interest in something and learning something new. And further on as well, they've done away with mid-year exams so that, again, you know, learning is not directed towards just passing an exam. The new PSLE scoring system, where you don't have to chase the last mark, you know. Again, that is to help students enjoy learning and not for the sake of getting more marks. Yeah.
And Sandra, then how do we know if it's working out for the students or even the teachers as well? You know, what are the measures of success for this blended learning approach?
Well, that's the thing in education. You know, and the results can only be seen years later down the road. So I guess in this case, you know, hopefully we'll develop generations of Singaporeans who will enjoy learning. Even after they leave school, they will go on to pursue lifelong learning, take up courses in areas that they are interested in, that will expand their role in their careers, and you know, organize and decide on their own learning process, and not based on whether they pass different exams along the way.
And you've spoken to several parents and students as well about this approach. What are some of the concerns that they've raised?
Well, parents, of course, have their concerns. Quite a few of them, especially those with younger children, now feel like they have to be home as well to supervise their kids on HBL days. But actually, the idea is to get the kids to do their own independent learning and to manage their time and so on. So really, parents' involvement should be very minimal, you know. So if parents are worried about that, then they're taking a wrong approach to it. Then, of course, there's also the concern of whether they will misuse these devices that they are going to be given, their tablets and so on, and, you know, spending too much time online. But again, MOE will be monitoring that. They'll put in a software that will allow the students to only use those devices for learning. And at the same time, they're also stepping up cyber wellness program, which is part of the character education program, and to teach them about etiquette of going online, how to deal with cyberbullying, and so on, all these different issues.
From the educator's perspective, how would this new approach affect their workload? For example, you know, lesson materials, preparation?
Well, it's also a learning curve for the teachers. In a sense, they are role models, right, for lifelong learning. So they will have to think about the new medium that they are using and how to tailor their lessons accordingly to ensure that it's engaging and effective, right? But you know, the ministry is providing teachers with the training, and teachers are also learning on the job from their colleagues. And you know, as they go along, they learn how to improve their lessons and try new strategies and what works and what doesn't work and so on. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's both a learning process for the students and teachers as well. Well, thank you so much, Sandra, for coming in to speak with us, and of course for your insights as well. That was Senior Education Correspondent Sandra Devi. Now, schools will conduct home-based learning for students for at least 2 days a month, starting from the third term of next year. You can read all about it on straitstimes.com. A quick look at what's making headlines around the world. Britain is the first country in the world to approve a COVID-19 vaccine developed by Oxford University and AstraZeneca. This as it battles a major winter surge driven by a new highly contagious variant of the virus. AstraZeneca said the authorization was for a 2-dose regime and that the vaccine had been approved for use for emergency supply. Britain has ordered 100 million doses of the vaccine. A new variant of COVID-19 first discovered in the UK does not appear to cause more severe illness than other variants. According to a study by Public Health England, neither the hospitalization nor the mortality differences were statistically significant. The new strain has led many countries to impose travel bans on the UK. Boeing's 737 MAX has officially returned to U.S. skies with an American Airlines flight from Miami to New York on Tuesday. It's the first commercial 737 MAX flight by a major U.S. airline more than 20 months after the aircraft was grounded by authorities and since its recertification in November. Southwest Airlines and United Airlines are expected to fly their 737 MAX airplanes sometime in the new year. Those are our top stories for today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.